going on, everybody? Welcome back to not another Isekai. I am Tyler, and talking about more anime, of course. Seasonal anime, closing in on the end. We're already, was it halfway through the season? More than halfway through the season for most of these shows. And everything's pretty much wrapping up. This is interesting because we're not only wrapping up the new stuff, so that's like 11 of these shows are new, but also the three like second core stuff as well. So a lot of endings happening right now. Um, yeah, not really much else to say. Good stuff. Good week. Let's start. First, we got My Hero Academia season 6, episode 20. Only like probably 4 episodes left, 5 episodes. Yeah, good stuff here. More just kind of a continuation of last episode. More of Midoriya being like the Batman character, and seeing more and more trouble, right? Because I think that's something that we've gone a couple episodes without seeing, like the actual villains making moves. For a while there, I feel like it was just like the villains recouping and sort of trying to, make some sort of plan. But now we see this lady Nagant, Nagant. She's pretty cool. She's a pretty cool character. I mean, her quirk is just like a gun, which sounds really boring, but it's so cool how it does. I mean, first off, it's like through her elbow thing, or like arm elbow thing, so that's cool. And then she like twists off a part of her hair, and I guess it just like turns into a bullet. It's like super hard. She can put it in her thing. Boom, snipe. She's quick shot. No, not quick shot. Accurate shot. But also, like she can make different types of bullets, like armor piercing and like hollow rounds, and I don't know if she can do like explosive rounds, but just like different types of bullets just from her hair. Like she's like a human sniper rifle. It's crazy. That's pretty much the whole episode. We do have the beginning where Midoriya saved that one girl from being mobbed. That's cool. That's more so just like world building, just for this arc, where it's just more and more examples of people, regular people, whether it be quirk or quirkless, just not heroes, right? Where non-heroes are on edge. They're real antsy, real anxious about stuff. So even something like that, where we don't even know that she has a quirk necessarily. I mean, she doesn't look fully human, so I guess it's presumed that of course she has a quirk. And more people, the majority of people have quirks in this world and this version of Earth. But even that can make people on edge and want them to be like, hey, what's going on here? What are you doing? And even thinking she might be a villain, like the League of Villains or something, when she's clearly not. I mean, Midoriya stepped in and was like, look at her. Does anything about her right now look hostile? And they're like, yeah, okay, you got it. And then they're still like, oh, it's her fault for dressing like that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like that's some real, like negative profiling right there. It's not cool. But, if you put yourself in this world, if you're a regular person, wouldn't you feel the same? Maybe not. I don't know. I'd be on edge about every single person that has a quirk, because I think I would understand that, well, at least half of them are not bad people. But, you can sort of step in their head and understand why they're acting the way they're acting. So yeah, that was sort of the beginning. And then, like I said, there's the sniper lady, Lady Nagant. That's just how I'm going to say it. Yeah, she has the sniper stuff. I already kind of explained that. And she shot Midoriya's GPS, so that was huge, because then All Might and them couldn't really track him. So that was big. And she did that before, before Midoriya was able to say, hey, this is who it is. Because right now they're in the dark. They're like, I don't know what's going on with Midoriya. I don't know what's happening. If he is, facing somebody right now, I don't even know who it is. So that's cool. And then just kind of at the very end, we have what I believe happened. I could be wrong, but I believe All For One gave Lady Nagant a power, a quirk, airwalk, where she was able to, well, as the name suggests, walk across the air as if there's platforms. if that is what happened, and if I'm not crazy, that's huge. Because isn't that the whole point of him wanting one for all? Or sorry, yeah, one for all. Is he able to give quirks to people? I mean, I thought that was the whole point of getting one for all. So maybe I'm wrong. He didn't give her the quirk, but she has two quirks. Like nobody has two quirks. I mean, people have like. I mean, that's not necessarily true. People have two quirks, but the way it was set up, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a small deposit," and then it cut to her being like, "Airwalk," you know. So maybe he did. Maybe he found a way. But again, like I've already said it, but isn't that what wasn't that the whole point with All for One? Is that when he gets one for all, he can then, or maybe, no, no, I don't know. It's strange. But anyway, that was basically the episode. Again, not too much happened. Like it really was just cut up like, hey, here's the beginning where we're setting the scene again, and then here's basically the other 80% of the episode, which is Midoriya and All Might and them kind of being covert about their operations, and then them facing Lady Nagant at the end. And so that's going to turn into something big, I'm sure. It's really only her though, unless she has a bunch of backup. Because like if All Might and them, I mean like Hawks and Best Genius, like if they come in, like we haven't necessarily seen the extent of Lady Nagant's powers. She might have way more, but I mean I don't know that she can fight Midoriya and Hawks and Best Genius and Endeavor, you know. So yeah, good episode. I thought it was just more of a continuation, but very, very, very necessary. So next we got Blue Lock, episode 19. This is the end. This is the end of the end. Well, I guess it's sort of the beginning, the end of the beginning, because they chose Chiguri. That was the big setup from last episode who they're gonna pick. I think it was so clear. Like to me, I said this last episode where I was like, it's so clear they're gonna choose Chiguri. He was the only one that throughout the match showed any sort of growth and like really stood out. Like Reo was cool. He made some plans, got some good passes off, whatever. Kunigami, he was pretty good with like boxing some people out. I think he scored a couple times, so not a bad performance by either of those two. But Chiguri was the one that stood out, and he evolved, and he was crazy. Like he was really the only one when it came down to it. When what are their names? Isagi, Nagi, and Baru, when they like leveled up and they're like, all right, this is my full power. Chiguri was the only one that was keeping up with them. So if they're facing three people that were all at the level of Chiguri was during that match, might not have won, but they weren't. Clearly chose Chiguri. It was funny because even Isagi was like, the smart play would be to pick Reo to like balance the team out. But guess what? We ain't smart. we're not smart today. And because it was just like, we can't just be stagnant. We need someone like Chiguri to create these crazy chemical reactions with each other. Like the whole reason why we were able to win this match is because we didn't work well together. Like Baru was a wrench in the machine, and then we devoured each other and we leveled up a couple times. We got them skill points, trying to flood out the skill tree, right? And so if we pick someone that just kind of complements our style, it's nice, but we're not going to grow. And if we don't grow, we're definitely not going to beat Rin's team. So we need someone like Chiguri that's like kind of dysfunctional with the way our flow is, because when we build the new flow, the new connections, it's going to be crazy. So that was kind of the thought process there, which I completely agree with. It's clearly Chiguri, And then big moment, Nagi says that he's done with Reo. That was huge. I really enjoyed that, because he was trying to console him a little bit, and then Reo was like being super down on himself and was like, "Oh, are you done with me? Are you throwing me aside? If you are, just do it properly." And then Nagi was like, "You know what? Yeah, I am done with you." Because Reo was almost trying to guilt him and be like, you're forgetting the promise that we made, that we're going to be the best together. We're going to make it to the end together. And Nagi came back and was like, no, you're the one forgetting the promise. And I love that, because to me, I interpreted that as, well, I'm doing just fine. You know, I'm moving on to the next selection. You're the one that's losing. You're the one that's not holding up the end of your, the end of the deal, the end of the bargain, right? I'm doing everything I possibly can to get to the end. And then you're over here being like, oh, feeling sad for yourself, being all depressed about losing. It's like, stand up and win, and then get to me, and then we can fight, and then, you know what I mean? Like, the whole thing is we're gonna do it together, and yet you're blaming me that you're losing. That's not together, you know. So I love that, And then even Kunigami like trying to literally, both figuratively and physically picking his head up, because it's like, hey, we're still in this. We're gonna go back. We're gonna do a 2-on-2. We're gonna climb back up. Yeah. And then another great moment, another moment of growth. A lot of growth this episode. Baru admits that he wasn't mature enough, which is great. I never thought I was gonna hear that, but I was really happy to hear that they finally gave Baru something to say. I know that's kind of his character, is that he's just this like stoic, like doesn't care about getting close to anyone, doesn't care about knowing anything about anybody. It's just play soccer. I'm the best. Feed me the ball. I'm gonna score. But I like that through Isugi and Nagi, they were able to grow and start like opening up a little bit and start, even though he was trying to mask it as like, oh, I'm just asking about you so that I can devour you and be better than you, and that way you can never do what you did to me today again. And I know that he was trying to mask it like that and trying to still, have his like kingship, right? But I do like that he finally, and they touched on it last episode with like ego in them, where he was like, you have to reach the bottom. Like sometimes you have to lose. You have to know what it's like to lose and realize that you are not the best on the field in order to get better. And Baru never felt that until today. So I like that, I think that will really grow them as a team, and they really need that, especially now they're adding in another person. Now, Jiguri has worked with Isugi before, obviously, but not in this team. Not with Nagi or Baru, and also not with all three of them together. So I'm excited to see that. And then Rin says that Bakura is afraid of playing alone. That hits him. This is honestly, with like the second half of this episode, it is a very Bakura-centric episode where we see some of his backstory about how he was always a monster, was always following that monster. He was always called weird. And then we have a little bit of his perspective from the beginning of the season, which is really cool. And how, the whole reason why he was drawn to Isugi, and we already kind of knew this, but I like seeing it from his perspective, where he was like, he grew up following the monster, right? Like, it didn't matter if what his teammates said. He was like, no, I'm gonna follow this thing because this thing is what I want to play like. And now he follows Isugi, and he really wants to play with Isugi because Isugi is the only one that plays like him. Isugi is like his new monster. So, so that's why he's always followed him. And now that's even more important, because now he's like, maybe Rin is another monster. And so that's kind of getting him a little excited. And it does play towards the end of the episode, which I'll talk about right now. Bakura and Rin come out. Isugi's there. He's going to challenge them, which is awesome that he's already like, yep, we're facing him. That's probably going to be the end of the season. And now that we've learned so much about Bakura and seen so much, it's fun to see it from his perspective, because he's like, all right, who am I going to follow? This match basically decides who I should be following and who I should be playing soccer with, Rin or Isugi. Two monsters that are facing off against each other. So I'm super excited. I believe there's probably 24 episodes, so we still have 5 more episodes left. I don't know if they're going to stretch out one match over 5 episodes. I feel like that's a lot for a 5-on-5. I feel like they might, because like, what else would it be? I mean, they're not going to start a whole nother like selection round, unless there's some weird like bonus thing, like bonus round thing for this 5-on-5. I don't really know what they're going to do. 5 whole episodes, you know what I mean? So we'll see. I'm excited to see it though, because this 4-on-4 is what we've been waiting for. this is it, And again, theoretically, if Isagi were to lose, it's not over. He just gets bumped down to 3-on-3, and then they have to climb back up again. Time is not on their side because there's also a time restraint as well. If time ends and you haven't won by then, you're eliminated. But I mean, theoretically, it's not the end of the world. But also, like I've kind of been saying this whole season, you know, I mean, especially with this whole thing with the team picking up people, dropping people, this whole part of the show. I don't think Isagi's going to be carried to win, right? So like even in the crazy scenario where Rin's team wins, I could see Isagi going all out and then wanting to pick Isagi, but that just feels super weak to me. To be like, oh, well, Isagi, the main character, lost, but he's still going forward and he still won because Rin and his team picked him. That just seems like a super soft ending. I feel like there's no doubt in my mind that Isagi's team is going to beat Rin. I'm very interested to see, and we'll talk about this more as, the match actually starts and it goes. If Isagi's team wins, who do they pick? Because I feel like story-wise, they're going to pick Bakura. But I also think it could be wild for them to be like, but Rin is the best player. But also, do they have to, wait, hold on. Do they have to win a 5-on-5? I actually don't remember that part. I thought maybe if they just got to a team of 5, they win. But if they have to win a 5-on-5, that could be why there's a whole 5 episodes left. Because it's like, okay, we might spend like 2 episodes on this, 1 middle episode, and then 2 more episodes on the 5-on-5. Either way, Rin is the best character. I could see a scenario where they really want to rip our hearts out and then be like, I want to pick Bakura. Bakura's my guy. But Rin's the best player, and if we have to win a 5-on-5 to win and then move on to the whole next stage, we got to pick the best player and then just rip our hearts out. Because again, Bakura doesn't mean Bakura's out of the show, but it would be something crazy. It would be insane, right? But anyway, I mean, my heart wants Bakura, right? Because Bakura's cool, So, yeah, we'll see you next episode. Next, we have The Eminence in Shadow, episode 20, and this is the final episode. The show is over, and boy, do I have some thoughts. So, we'll just go through the episode. We'll just go through some high points in the episode first. Sid is clowning Beatrix. He's just way too fast, right? He's doing that like Naruto thing, where it's like they're so fast they just disappear. It was really cool to watch. This whole episode had some really cool action sequences. And then even with Iris's help, he can't be stopped. He's just like, yeah, just light work, right? And then Iris is like, there's nowhere to run. The whole city will be after you. And he's just like, who's running? I'm not running. What do you mean? You're saying that as if I'm losing and I'm trying to retreat. I'm making making everyone here look like children. What are you running? Have him come. You know who I am. But then, oddly enough, Sid did leave. It just kind of disappeared. Iris is very frustrated because she lost him, right? And Rose has disappeared with Alpha, right? We saw that little meeting there with Rose and Alpha in the alley, and she just accepted. She was like, all right, cool. This is all I have, right? Because Rose really is running. Rose killed her father, the king. Like, she's gonna, like, she is on the run. If she gets captured, she's gonna be put in jail for life if she's lucky. Maybe executed. So it makes sense. Alpha ends up bringing Rose to Alexandria, which is Shadow Garden's base. I guess she's gonna be trained to be one of the alphabet, along with Alpha, Beta, Gamma, all those guys. There's over 600 of them in the Shadow Garden. Maybe not currently, but she's like the 660th member or something. And then Sid at the very end playing the piano, which is the end song, I guess. He says something about the hour of awakening, and there's little time left. And then he does a funny thing that, Sid always does, because this is somewhat of like a fourth wall breaking show. He says, yeah, I'm going to do it just like that. He kind of walks away. And so that's basically the episode. It was a cool episode. My whole issue with the show, and I've obviously talked about this ad nauseum, so I'll try to keep this opinion of mine short because you've already heard it. But like the first 10 episodes feels like the first season, and I really enjoyed it. Right? It was really cool, him being secretive about stuff, him being in like weird dynamics with all these different characters, and then the whole Shadow Garden secrecy, and then the fake Shadow Garden, and then Sherry, her whole storyline too. It was all really cool. Also, I just realized she never came back. We never saw her again. She was like traveling, and I feel like I just feel like there was more to her story. Like I'll be back, sort of energy. She never was. And then the second 10 episodes were like a second season that just didn't vibe with me at all. Like the beginning of those second 10 episodes were very weird, and then it kind of went into some more secret stuff, which was cool. But I was still like, this feels super sudden and like not really set up. And then the end, it kind of reverted back to Sid in a tournament arc being Mundane Man. I was like, okay, this is kind of the energy that we were getting from the beginning. And then he sort of revealed himself as Lord Shadow, but not Sid as Lord Shadow, because Sid is perfectly fine. Sid is still riding a train with his school friends. So it's okay. So he didn't reveal himself. Mundane Man is Lord Shadow. Okay. Cool. And then him at the end being like, there's little time left. I'm just, little time left for what? Like, what are we talking? Is this all just nonsense? I don't know. I understand that to a point, the whole like setup for this show is that it is sort of parodying and like toying with other tropes in anime, right? Like other power fantasies, maybe even other isekai, right? I understand that, but like I just feel like it gets to a point where stuff just starts happening, and there's just so many things. Again, maybe that's the point. Maybe they are introducing all these things and all these weird interactions on purpose. It just sort of like became a show, and I've mentioned this before, where there are some shows where stuff just kind of happens. Like I don't feel like there's a real plot. I don't feel like the characters are that interesting. Stuff just kind of happens, and like one foot in front of the other, but like super robotic. And I feel like at a point this show became that, where it was just like, all right, I guess they're finding this like sanctuary. Like, okay, cool, we're here now. Okay, and then the one like sword master came out and they killed her sort of, and they broke free. I don't really know what the point of that was. I don't know what the point of that little mini arc was. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think the show was fine. I think they're very clearly setting up a second season. I don't know that I'm super eager to watch a second season, but maybe it'll get better. I feel like this was a super roller coaster of a show, and it ended, and I was like, okay, cool. I guess, whatever. But yeah, that's the riveting praise that I have for this show. Next, we'll go on to The Angel Next Door Spells Me Rotten, episode 7. This one was cool. This one was, I think, a huge leap forward for their relationship. Every episode is making progress, and I think it's so clearly moving towards, okay, they are going to, at some point, explicitly confess and be like, okay, we do like each other, we do want to be together. But this one was a great leap forward. So beginning, we have Chitose forcing her way into the lunch, which was really just set up for what the episode really was going to be. It was honestly just an excuse to like have that one picture of Mahiru sent, because that kind of tumbles into the rest of the episode, into Mahiru not really revealing, but just like sort of being like, oh yeah, I take good care of Mr. Bear. And she starts to get like way too many details. She gets embarrassed about it, which is really cute. Um, and then, that's just a nice little back and forth with them. Um, you know, not something we've never seen before, right? Where one of them lets something slip and one of them gets embarrassed and they kind of go back, right? So that was sort of reinforcing that idea. And then it's juxtaposed by the big, like, actual reveal in the episode, which is something that I've been waiting for. I've mentioned this a bunch. I've been waiting for the whole season, right? Which is, what is Mahiru's story, right? Like, what's going on with her family, her, her like growing up, her past, right? All that stuff. Because I feel like whenever something gets close, whenever the conversation between her and Amane get close to that, she shuts down, right? Like we've seen her leave, we've seen her change the subject, all that stuff. And so we finally see it here because it's sort of forced out of her. We find out that Mahiru's biological mother is terrible. Her father kind of sucks too, but we haven't seen that in action. I guess fortunately. And yeah, it's just like, so apparently Mahiru's parents, they didn't really love each other. It was just out of the interest of the families, which is, not super crazy of an idea. I mean, I know like arranged marriages aren't super like really a thing in America, but other countries, they still exist, right? And the sad part though is that they never wanted a kid, so they never emotionally supported Mahiru. They only financially supported her, right? Just out of obligation, right? You are our child, so we will make sure you don't die, But other than that, we don't care. Mahiru tries her hardest, but never gets their attention, right? So that even like builds up why she is the way she is. It's not just anime, right? It's not just, oh well, we're writing this anime and her quirky personality trait is that she's just perfect in everything, right? Like we've seen that character before, and sometimes there's an explanation for it, sometimes there isn't. That's just who the character is. And so with this, I like that they gave a reason for it. They're like, oh no, she's perfect, quote unquote perfect, because she is, her whole life she's constantly tried to make her parents acknowledge her. And so she made sure that she gets the best grades, that she is athletic, that she does extracurriculars or, whatever the case may be, because she just wants that recognition. And I like that. And then I love Amane's reaction to all of this. We're thinking the same thing he is, where it's like, dude, your parents are terrible. Like that's a terrible situation to be in. It even explains the one time where she mentioned the maid, right? How like, the maid taught her to cook, right? But I love what he says. He says a bunch of things, but the one that hit me was, if you want to cry, just cry. And his whole reason for saying that was like, you can't keep holding this in. I'm here, I'm next to you, I'm with you. Like, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone. You might have had to your whole life because you never really got close to anybody. And I think that has a lot to do with your past, right? Where you never felt wanted by your parents. So that sort of eked into just who you are as a person, where it's like, you don't want, or maybe you don't believe that others want to be close to you. And so Amane being here, and not only the past few months, but just here in this moment, is like, hey, like, you like you have to deal with this, and not like it's your fault, deal with it. It's more so just like, you can face this, like you are strong enough, you are like, come on, right? And so she cries, and so it's it's very cute too, because she's like, oh well, don't watch me cry. I don't actually want you to see me cry. And then here's kind of the rebound, right, where they start talking to each other, start consoling, right, and it's like, You know, I love the end where they're like, you know, they have each other. Um, Again, not a confession or anything like that, but this really does, like, it's sort of like working out, right? Like, you know how working out works, where you do whatever you do, lift weights, use the machine, run, and what happens is that your like muscle fibers, they tear, but then they grow back stronger. And I think that's kind of like what this episode was, where we kind of broke down Mahiru's past and like her like biggest dark cloud that is constantly around her. We revealed it and kind of broke it down. But now that she's told someone about this and she has someone else that can kind of help her through all of this, yeah, you know, I think she's going to be stronger for it. And I also think that their relationship is going to be stronger as well, where there's this, again, this huge part of her life, which basically turned her into who she is today. So there's some good and some bad with that fact. Not, you know, now she has someone else that knows it. Now she has someone else that can talk to her about it and like maybe relate to her with some things or whatever it may be. And you know, even just like support her, be like, hey, you have me, but like also like, you know, that Chitose and Ikun, you know, his friends, like they're with you, like they love you as well. You know, my parents, you know, love you. You know, it's like you have other people. Um, and there are other people in school too that I'm sure would like to get to know you. You know, again, not blaming Mahiru, but it's like, hey, you know, we other people would probably want to be your friend too. You know, so basically, when it comes down to it, you're not alone. We we got this. You know. So yeah, I just love that episode. Again, it is bearing her soul and Amine being there for her, which is great. You know, so yeah, excited for the future of the show. We are over halfway done. You know, I think I truly believe we will get a confession by the end. But then there's that weird thing where it's like, where does the show go after that? You know, is the excitement and the entertainment in the show the fact that they aren't together and they are kind of tiptoeing? Or will it still be entertaining even after they are officially together? Next, we got the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague, episode 7. Um, yeah, this one was cool. It was the Halloween episode, right in the ripe old month of February. So just missed it. Just missed it. Um, so yeah, it kind of opens up with kind of a wacky scenario, which is like, oh, there's, I don't know, it's like the lottery or something, 1 billion yen, right? Which is crazy. It's so much money. Um, and then it goes to another weird situation with Himuro and Fuyutsuki both buying 4 coffees from Starbucks, which is funny, right? Because the whole point was that, oh, we want to try this coffee. Oh, my friends might want to try this coffee, and they both get it. No one tells each other. There's no communication there. I mean, to be fair, it was supposed to be a surprise, right? So it's like, I can't be like, hey, I'm gonna get this. You know, I wanted to surprise each other. So we have 8 coffees. There's so many coffees. So that was funny. But the whole point of those 2 tidbits are now leading into what the episode was about, which is, hey, there's gonna be this party. We're all gonna be together. There's a costume contest. There's a prize, winnings, whatever. And yeah, we have the president who super likes parties. Maybe like a little too much. It's like a weird like obsession with parties, but it was cool. And there's a costume contest, and so it's very strange. Like I don't I don't understand why, but like they want this like jack-o'-lantern type costume, and it's sold out everywhere. Don't know why. Every one of these like, why is it so popular? Why do people like this costume so much? It's not even like that cool of a costume, you know? It's just like you're just inside of like a mascot costume, basically. But yeah, so they decided to do that, and it's sold out everywhere. And so they get new costumes, and they get like vampire costumes, which is really cool, right? Vampire costumes can be super simple, you know, not a whole lot of moving parts, which is nice, but it all comes together and it's like, oh, cool, vampire, gotcha. That's Halloween. That's classic Halloween. Um, and let's see, we have we have a really cute moment where um, Fuyutsuki flicks the head of Himuro, and she's like, "Oh, well, you know, earlier I said trick or treat. You never gave me any candy, which means no treat, which means trick." So flicked her, right? And you know that got Himuro all hot and bothered, or I guess cold and bothered, right? Like frozen in place. It's just great, man. You know, it's one of those shows where it's just like, oh man, there's two people having like cute moments together. It's just like it doesn't get better than this, you know. Like we don't need anything more from this show. Um, they're all vampires. We have another nice moment where Himuro, or not Himuro, Fuyutsuki has fake blood on her mouth, you know, for the whole vampire effect, and Himuro Himuro thought it was real, freaked out. She's like, no, it's all good, it's all good. But again, like any rational human would not have been like, oh, she's actually bleeding from her mouth. But because it's Himuro and because of his like perspective on Fuyutsuki as a person, you know, he's like his like danger sense went off, right? He was like, oh my god, she's injured, we gotta help her, what happened? But it's like, no, dude, you're you're looking way past reality. Like, she's a vampire. You have to remember that. You know, most other characters, okay, maybe yeah, like if she was dressed up as Frankenstein's monster, right? Frankenstein's monster, not really known to like eat people, right? I mean, I think maybe like the like bastardization of Frankenstein's monster maybe now might eat people, but like originally Frankenstein's monster was just a guy for the most part, right? You know, just a guy that was cobbled together by corpses, and actually like super intelligent of a creature. It was just like his appearance, right? Um, anyway, you know, no one that talks about 99% of people that talk about Frankenstein's monster did not read Frankenstein. You know, did not read was it Mary Shelley, I think was her name, who first wrote Frankenstein. Anyway, but yeah, so they're not typically known for like eating people, drinking blood, bleeding from the mouth. So yeah, in that moment it's like, oh whoa, there's blood in it. Well, you okay? You know, or like dressed as like, I don't know, like the like classic like cat girl, right? It's like, okay, there's blood for it. Whoa, you got some. You good? You like bleeding right there. She's like, oh no, it's fake blood. I'm like, okay, cool. Explain. Or cats don't drink blood. They don't eat people. I mean, I guess they are omnivores. So I guess you could eat like a rat or something, but it'd be strange. And then what else do we have? The mummy team won, which they helped out make this like eco-friendly mummy team. But then the vampire team got runner-up, so their whole friend group kind of won, you know, for first and second place. And we have the nice, cute ending where Fuyutsuki wants to wear the costume longer with Himuro because she got to the party late, and really, I mean, you know, thinly veiled attempt at just wanting to stick around with Himuro more, and also she really liked the way Himuro looked in the costume. She's like, hey, do you want me to hang out a little more? Costume, you know? So yeah, love it, right? Like this show, again, like I feel like I compare this show to Angel Next Door a whole lot, and there are a lot of comparisons. I feel like this show is more like situational. Angel Next Door, I feel like, does have more of a loose common thread where I do feel like it's escalating, you know, with each episode. This show, Isekai and his cool female colleague, I don't necessarily see escalating like blatantly. You know, I think it has gotten bigger since the first episode, but I do feel like it is more, like I said, situational, where it is like, oh, we're just gonna have like a Halloween episode, you know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just observation, I guess. I mean, with this as well, do I think that by the end of the season they'll confess to each other? I think it's very possible. To be fair though, um, no, maybe I guess not. I was gonna say that I feel like their relationship might be even further along though somehow, but no, I guess maybe not. Cause I was like, well, they went to dinner together, but that was once, and I guess with Angel Next Door, they like hang out at each other's house a whole lot. Himuro and Fuyusuki haven't even been over each other's house yet, so well, hopefully that happens soon. That'd be nice. I mean, although if we are keeping with the timeline, Halloween just happened. We're on episode 7. We could very well, and I would kind of expect at this point to get a Christmas episode, and that's Christmas is like the romantic holiday, right? So could be gearing towards that. Maybe that's a little closer to a whole confession type thing. That'd be cool. We'll see. Next, we have the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and genius young lady, episode 7. Yeah. I don't feel like a whole lot happened in this episode. There were a couple key moments though that I think are big setups for the future. So we have Tilty helping Lainey control her powers. She's basically a vampire, I guess, which is neat. I didn't really see that coming, but it's cool. It's a cool development. Tilty tells Yuffie to seriously think about her relationship with Anis, and I love that she did this because I think it's so true, where it's like, you really have to think about this. We both know, I've known me as Tilty. I've known Anis a lot longer than you have, but we both know what type of person Anis is. We know how crazy she is. We know how passionate she is. You can't go into this halfway. You need to decide. Because you've been saying, like, I mean, at this point, she's kind of already done everything she set out to do on paper when it comes to Yuffie, right? Where it's like, she's going to restore your honor. Like, at this point, your honor's restored. Like, you should have no problem doing whatever you want to do, right? So why are you still her assistant? And Tilty made it very clear that, she wasn't saying that negatively. It was more so just like, so why are you still with her? Why are you still helping her with all this stuff? Like you have to understand that for yourself before you understand, like, I don't know, her future, I guess, because that was, that is Yuffie's whole thing where she's like, I don't know what to do now. I'm just kind of clinging onto Anis, but it's like, why? Like why are you still with her? You have to decide that. And I love it because it's so true. She could very well just leave. She doesn't really, quote unquote, need Anis anymore. And she could go do something else. Like she, but the fact that she's still with it, I mean, we know why, right? Like she likes Anis. I think it is a super real possibility that the both of them like get together or just get a lot closer by the end of this season. And so, like, we know that's the reason, but you have to understand like what that means to like be with her and get close to her and like what her motives are. Like, we don't know, we don't know what she's trying to do long term. So I just like that very serious conversation where we can clearly tell that Yuffie was jealous, right? And she was even like, was I guess I was jealous. It was like kind of innocent and like also kind of frustrating at the same time. But yeah, and then I love the second half where Yuffie shows it, right? She talks the talk, but now she's walking the walk. We have the Ministry of Arcane isn't fond of Anis just with their past, right? And like the whole like magicology stuff, right? They're not into that. It's like it's what they say. It's like against the whole spirit stuff. It's like sacrilege, right? But whatever, right? It's just like old people, just like boomers. The boomers thinking everything's got to stay the same, when clearly if we changed it, it'd be better. Like, come on. So Yuffie decides to go all in, right? She takes what Tilty said to heart. She not only goes all in on the presentation, but she does stuff that Anis didn't even ask her to do, and like really shows commitment, and goes crazy about the Adra, which is like, hey, this broom thing really cool, not super practical. So Anis has been developing the Adra, which is like a dragon's head. It's like a hovercraft slash rocket car type thing. It's crazy. But then also talks up Anis as well, where it's like, hey, no, she cares about this stuff. She's trying to make it better, you know, right? Like the stuff that she's done with me, she just like goes crazy, right? Absolutely ham. And like Anis is looking at her and is like, oh my god, she's like tearing up and everything. So that's great, right? That's great that we had that moment. You know, I think this is both Yuffie showing her, like kind of like opening herself up to Anis, right? But but then maybe Anis really seeing that, right? Like we see that it's not necessarily just a one-way street. Her seeing it and hopefully realizing it and being like, okay, gotcha. And Anis is here for the long haul. She really does care. Or sorry, Yuffie's here for the long haul. She cares. We're doing this. Like she's special, right? It's not just like Ilya helping her out, not just like Lainey helping her out. Crazy blood drinker over here. Apparently Ilya let her drink some of her blood. Wild. Like this is something special, right? And so that's, again, I feel like in terms of stuff that happened, not too much, but these couple things with the vampire Lainey, but then also Yuffie being like, yo, I am bigging you up so much right now, and I believe every word that I'm saying is so huge, and I can't wait for the future, right? Next episode, whatever, to see, hopefully that comes back. I would love for Anis and Yuffie to have a conversation about this, like a real conversation about the future. That'd be nice. But yeah, great show. Love the show. Next we got Buddy Daddies, episode 7. This was the episode where we learned a lot. We learned a lot about Katsuki. I loved it. So basically the whole setup was that, Katsuki feels like he's underappreciated. So he leaves, right? He learns a little bit more about himself as well. And then Ray and Miri are kind of forced to appreciate what he does by doing it themselves and failing for the most part. So basically we have two storylines here, right? So we have Ray and Miri doing their thing, and then we have Katsuki doing his thing. So with Ray and Miri, it was more so just like hijinks, right? That was kind of like the like lighter side of the episode. We see that daycare is closed. They rushed out to get the daycare supplies, get her dressed. No umbrella. They get there. It's Sunday. Like, God, it's Sunday. We wasted all that time, and the daycare's not even open today. Let's see. Ray ordered a pizza. He's like, I don't know how to cook. Let's just get a pizza. And then Ray truly believes that he's been abandoned. He's like, oh no, he's abandoned us. He's not coming back. Which is like, why would you say that? Now Mary's freaking out, And then the terrible thing is Miri gets sick, right? And that was a moment for me where I was like, this is like real. Like this is one of those few like super real moments that Buddy Daddies has. Because for the most part, I mean, we've watched the show, right? Like Buddy Daddies is mostly just like slapstick, crazy situations. Oh man, what's Miri gonna say next? How do we balance the whole like spy life and dad life? What do we do? But then we have some serious moments where like Miri gets sick and Ray's freaking out. Because, oh my God, do we have medicine? We have medicine. Oh no, it's only for adults. I have to get her to a hospital. Like Miri is like sick. Like she is not doing well. Like she's bad. And then he's like, I gotta go to a hospital. Where's the hospital? How do I get to a hospital? I don't even know. and then he rushes in, and just like the look on his face and like um the worry, the amount of distraught in his face and in his voice when he kicks open the door to the little cafe and sees Q, and he's like, please help. And then, oh no, like he just has Miri in his arms. Like that was a moment where I was like, yo, like Ray cares about Miri, and like they can do stuff in this show to get us to really care about these characters and not just be like, it's fun, you know. So then we jump over to the other one, which is really the more important, I feel like, you know, the more like revealing plot of the episode. We have Corinne, who is Koski's sister-in-law, who's been looking for him, right? And we find out that Corinne is the sister to Yuzuha, or sorry, Yuzuko, not Yuzuha. Yuzuha is from Tokyo Revengers. Yuzuko, and Yuzuko was the girlfriend, fiance to Kazuki. Yeah, he's not doing very well. He gets like beat up. He gets thrown in the garbage, and he looks up and he sees, you know, he sees Yuzuko, right? But it turns out it's just Corinne, and you know, we start to see more and more of like some payoff from the beginning of the season, where, you know, he keeps putting away money and giving it to someone, and we're never really sure who that is. Like, you know, we might have thought, I mean, I think my prediction was it was his girl who he had to abandon, right? That, you know, that's always what I thought it was, where he had to leave his girl, maybe for the spy life or something, or maybe she left him or something. I don't know. You know, something bad happened between him and his old wife or something, right? And so he's always felt guilty for that, so he always sends her money to take care of her and maybe a child that they had together, right? Because we have seen that before. We've seen that imagery before with him and his girl and his pregnant wife, right? We've seen that, so I was like, oh, maybe it was that. But then we see, oh, he was sending it to the sister Corinne because he feels that it was his fault that Yuzuko died. We see a flashback to him on a foot chase with some bad people. Bad people crash their truck. Truck explodes. And who is there? Who's there on the side of the street? Yuzuko. Yuzuko gets annihilated. And it's all set up, and I love the explanation to Kazuki's character, because I feel like Kazuki does have this weird like darkness surrounding him, you know, even these, you know, throughout the first half of the season. And again, with the whole sending money and having the relationship with Miri, and again, it just really explains certain moments in the show. But then for the payoff, for Corinne to say this beautiful line, which is, memories aren't a prison. And I love it, because she's basically saying, like, you don't have to keep feeling sorry for yourself. You know, like, if you're feeling sorry for me, don't. Like, I've moved on. It's been 5 years. Like, I don't blame you. You know? If you're feeling sorry for her, don't. Like, you know that Yuzuko would not want you to keep being depressed. You know, like stop. You know, she says another line where she's like, you know, she's sad to know that every time Kazuki thinks of Yuzuko, it's Yuzuko being sad. You know, because, you know, that's like Kazuki's, you know, that's like what he always imagines, is that Yuzuko is upset with him or sad or whatever. Like, and she's just like, dude, like, she wouldn't want you to do that. Like, you don't have to keep being chained, right? Memories aren't a prison. Like, you can live your life. Like, she would want you. Like, I know that she loved you. I know that you loved her. She would want you to live your life, you know, and stop like beating yourself up over this. So, and another good thing is that, you know, she even says herself, like, Corinne is like, I'm studying abroad. Like, I'm doing stuff in my life. Like, she's going to like France for fashion or something. And that really hits Koski, you know, because it's like, oh wow, maybe maybe people can move on. Like you don't have to forget about her. You're probably never going to, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't forget about her because you loved her. But to keep blaming yourself, and then be like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that. Like, there's no point in it, you know. Um, and then even Corinne found out from Q that he was taking in a like relative's daughter, and she's like, I know that you would make her happy too, and that's like, that really puts everything into perspective for Koski, not only with the Yuzuko stuff, but then it's like, oh, I have a family, like I have Rei, of course, but I also have Miri, and it's like, yeah, I can do this. I can do good with my life, So it's great. And then he comes home, he finds Rei and Miri in bed, sick, but seemingly okay, And then he buys Miri a new umbrella, which is more symbolic, right? At the beginning, the umbrella went crazy, and that was triggered a memory in him of Yuzuko's umbrella when she died, and so him buying Miri a new umbrella is somewhat symbolic of like, hey, I am moving on from this. So again, really cool. Was one reason I like Buddy Daddies, and also shows like Buddy Daddies where they do have this like other side to them. There's like emotional side to them that they can tap into, and it does work. It doesn't feel forced either. Like this stuff, there has been breadcrumbs of this the whole season, and it's not just super sad. Like, it is hope, right? Koski has been chained down by this his whole life, ever since it happened, and Miri is helping him change. And then Corinne makes him realize that, hey, like, this is okay. It's okay to move on from this. You don't have to put yourself in this box. No one else is doing that, So I love it, right? I know, and another thing I love is that because they did this, at some point, we're going to get a Rei-centric episode where we really get into Rei. Like, we've seen flashbacks of him and his father, all that stuff, but I feel like at some point we're really going to get into Rei's story. And I'm excited for that. That's really interesting. So yeah, good stuff. Next we got Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 6. Yeah. This one was good, man. It was them strengthening the relationship a little bit, learning more about the farm, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Just like good times for the most part. Just an episode where stuff happens and it's good. They can't uproot those stumps without a horse. Then we got Sverkel, has them picking rocks for a horse. They're chopping wood. They're just doing stuff, right? And at this point, we're like, we don't know who this man is. Sverkel does give off the energy of like someone important, but I was like, I don't know who this is. I wonder if he's just like a dude that people just kind of leave alone, but maybe he's been on this farm forever, so he just kind of works. I don't know. We find out that Sverkel is Kettle, which is their master, Kettle's father. And it's like, oh, okay, everything's starting to make sense. Understand why he's kind of alone. People just kind of let him do his thing, but also why he has the ability to give a horse to somebody, right? And the horse is great. The horse is a super big help. They're able to take up these stumps left and right. They're like borrowing like a till machine or whatever that's going. It's awesome, right? And so, I always love characters like that where they're like the like old and wise character that just has been here so long and just knows so much that no one can really say no to them. Like the only one that can go against him is Kettle. Like, realistically, no one else on the entire farm is gonna tell Spherical what he can and can't do. And I just love characters like that. When they're just like, yeah, I don't care. And like, he's also not causing problems really. Like, the only reason that him and his son fight is because Kettle doesn't want him to be on his own anymore. He's like, hey, you're too old. Like, you should be living with us. You should not be working the farm. Like, this is ridiculous. But Kettle's just like, I was born on this farm and I'll die on this farm. But it's true. That's what he wants. That's what he wants to do with his life. Who are you to say he can't? And also he's not causing problems for anyone. He's not like senile and he's like messing up other people's work and whatever. Like, he's just in his own place, in his own house. Like, he's chilling. I love characters like that. Um, and we have the other little realization here where Einar is shocked that Thorfinn's never farmed before. It's funny because I thought back and I was like, yeah, no, I guess Thorfinn never has had to farm before, you know? Like, in the beginning, he was a child, right? So he didn't really do work like that. And I'm trying to think back because, you know, he was even like, well, no one in my village farmed. And I'm like, is that possible? Is it possible for the people just not farm? Where did they get their stuff from? You know, I mean, later on it makes sense because he was part of like a mercenary troop, and so they just worked for stuff. So they just buy stuff or steal stuff from, or like, you know, not steal, pillage, right? From whatever. So that made sense. But I was like, oh, I guess his family never farmed. Like, what did they? How'd they get food and stuff? Like, I don't remember that. You know, maybe they just traded for goods. Like they made other stuff. So they, I don't really remember. I don't remember season 1 too well. It was a while ago. It was at least a few years ago. Yeah, so he was just surprised. He was like, all right, well, I'll lead when it comes to us actually like starting the farm, right? Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole episode. The very end, we have a little conversation here with Snake. You know, Snake and his people, they're in charge of keeping thieves off their property, off the farm. And they're like, oh man, it's, you know, up until now we've haven't had anything worse than thieves. And they explain why, right? So Kettle will give, you know, once a year or whatever, or twice a year, will give a huge offering to the king, King Harold. And King Harold accepts, so he's sort of obligated to protect the farm from any sort of big threats. So yeah, so that was cool. I'm sure, you know, that was mentioned here for a reason. I feel like that'll probably come back at some point. Maybe the farm will get some sort of crazy invasion. You know, we'll see. Again, you know, I feel like again, like I love some of the subtle stuff because they were talking about that, and then Snake was like, "Yeah, man, you know, we're taking down these thieves or whatever, but like we don't really have that many. Like this farm is a lot bigger than the protection we have. You know, this farm could easily be invaded by like what, like 50 people, like 50 soldiers." And he looks over to Thorfinn. He's like, "Right, Thorfinn?" And Thorfinn's like, "Oh, I don't really know. I wouldn't really know that." And it's just funny because it could have just been Snake trying to make him uncomfortable, just like, you know, Snake kind of character is. He just likes to mess with people. But I feel like they're kind of piecing stuff together, where it's like, you know, we had the one Snake interaction when he saved Thorfinn, and then he drew his sword, and then Thorfinn actually moved. Right, that was the first time he moved the whole thing because he saw real danger. Like he knew that the one dude like chopping him up wasn't gonna do anything, right? But this dude had a move and he had the intent of like kill. So Thorfinn actually went into, you know, he like, you know, he was a like sleeper cell agent and he woke up and he defended himself, right? And so Snake saw that. And now Snake is asking like, you know, he's trying to get into a little bit of Thorfinn. You know, again, Thorfinn was like the one. He was like the freaking child devil of the battlefield. You know, so a little bit of foreshadowing there, maybe. We'll see. At the very end, nice moment where Einar and Thorfinn become friends, I guess, right? Like Einar's talking to him and, you know, calls him his friend, and Thorfinn is like, friend? And Einar's like, oh, wait, are we not friends? Like, why are you shocked by that? Wait, hold on. Have I misinterpreted our relationship? And Thorfinn's like, yeah, no, we're friends. We're friends, which is nice because, you know, Thorfinn has been isolated for so long. So much bad stuff has happened to him. He really hasn't had a friend in a while, you know, a long while. So it's nice, you know. It's nice to see Thorfinn happy, you know, even for small stuff like that. But yeah, so good episode. I enjoyed it. You know, again, just kind of learning more about some people on the farm, learning more about the situation on the farm. Them obviously making some progress, you know, pulling up those stumps, tilling some land, you know, not being able to till too deep because of the roots or whatever, but they are going to start having a little section of their land there and start farming. So that's cool. And yeah, good stuff. Next we have The Misfit Demon King Academy, Season 2, Episode 6. Yeah, there's some good stuff. Again, not too much happened. They're just kind of infiltrating, trying to get some information about Shin. And yeah, again, more of like a middle episode, I feel. I feel like next episode's going to be some big stuff. But yeah, so we have Anos who cursed that one guy to trick the enemy. That was really cool, right? To be like, well, we're going to curse you, and then you're going to look like you're saving him, so no one suspects anything, right? Because those two people are on Anos' side, not Avos' side. So that was cool. That was very clever. Then Anos is using time magic to figure out what happened to Shin. They kind of go back in time, and they're trying to figure out what happened. Trying to see, because Shin is one of their suspects for like who is heavily involved in this whole Avos scheme. So, let's see. We have a nice moment with the freaking Sasha the tsundere. Anos showed Sasha that one spell, and she was like, oh, she's like super blushing about it, and it was cute. Now we have Anoshu, which is like kid Anos. Very funny. He did that because he's trying to come off as non-threatening to the two people, Shin and the one girl. I don't remember her name. I didn't write down her name. But it was very cool. And they're just like, oh, we're a pack of entertainers or whatever. But yeah, again, they're disguising their true identities, so they can get close to them. And because again, their whole mission is Shin. So if they can have them just, say, hey, yeah, sure, travel with us. Let's do it. We're doing this thing, whatever. Then cool, they're with Shin, and we can start rocking and rolling. Then we have a nice revelation here, which is a little like side mystery that we've had for past few episodes. Lena is the love fairy Fran, right? So we have the one that's like all masked and stuff. She has amnesia, all that good stuff. The one lady was like, yo, she's Lena the love fairy Fran. That's who it is. Lena is this. She's a fairy. It's crazy. And the whole thing though was like, hey, well, but we can't tell her, because if we tell her, she's gonna disappear. So we have to. What did she say? Like we have to make her realize what love is or something, and then she has to do that first before she can realize she is the love fairy. Crazy stuff. Again, this show has some very weird like side threads. I don't know how important they are, but they're fun, I guess. Then we have a nice battle. They weren't able to bring their weapons or tools into this other time, so Shin lends Lei the unique sword, going crazy with it, and then he lets him keep it for the duration of their stay. So that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Again, a very middle episode where they're working down the path, right? Like they're here. We're trying to learn more about Shin, learn more about this little time that we got here. Yeah, good stuff. Not really too much to say. I liked it. It was cool. Always nice when Anos puts on his powers and it's like, ooh, so for this one, he's like, ooh, we're some unsuspecting group. Can't wait, Next, we got Don't Told Me Miss Nagatoro, Season 2, Episode 7. Yeah, good stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, the whole skiing episode. Yeah, that's nice. We have a nice little segment in the beginning where Nagatoro helps Senpai with his contacts. Yeah, just not really much substance. Just like, no glasses. Cool, I guess. Then we have the skiing trip. It's funny in the beginning, Senpai's friends thinks that him and Nagatoro were dating. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe we might be. Who can say? Who's asking? And Senpai is really bad at skiing, right? As we thought, as we figured. The one thing that he is good at is art. Other than that, no real skills. Nagatoro, being the athletic one, obviously super good at skiing. Why wouldn't she be? And it is nice, it opens up a good opportunity for Nagatoro to teach him and them spend time together. And just be very genuine with each other. I think that's one of the best things about this show is that on the outside, it's very like, she's teasing him a whole lot. He gets embarrassed. It can be very aggressive at times, but I think the best parts are when they're alone and they're just truly spending time with each other and like trying to enjoy each other's company with whatever they're doing. So it's something like this where it's like she does kind of tease him about it a little bit, but once that's over, after like the 30 seconds of teasing in the beginning, she's like genuinely wants to help him and like, isn't getting upset with him, isn't like, oh, why can't you just do it? She's like, oh no, try this or we'll do this or watch me and whatever. Like she really is trying to teach him, just out of her heart, right? What she wants to do. And it's moments like that that I think make the show whole. Like if it was just the weirdly aggressive teasing, it'd be cool, but it'd be like, okay, it's just, why do we care, Um, and then Senpai decides to night scale by himself, very dangerous. Um, Senpai decides to help the one guy from skiing too fast. And it's like, oh, that's cool, Senpai can ski well enough to catch up to someone and safely stop them from skiing too fast, possibly hitting a tree. It's like, okay, cool. Senpai is, in just this little bit of time, he's learned enough. He was really paying attention to Nagatoro, and he's really trying to, because he could not care, but I think another part of him is like, well, Nagatoro really enjoys this. I want to be good. Part of him, I think, just wants to maybe try to enjoy some hobbies that Nagatoro has. But I think also we saw it a little bit in the beginning where he wanted to impress her. Oh, look how good I am. That sort of thing. So he has a lot of motivation. So for the fact that he has gotten so much better, he's still not like incredible, but he's gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I can ski. Is huge. And then the opposite happens to now where instead of someone going too fast and him trying to save them, someone's going too fast and is going to crash into him, and he can't get out of the situation fast enough, and so Nagatoro saves him on a sick snowboard, saves him, gives them the evil eye. Whenever anyone, again, the premise of the show, Nagatoro teases him a whole lot, messes with him, but when anyone messes with him, that's not her. Oof. You better pray for your life, because she turns back and she gives them the evilest eye ever, and they sprint out of here, right? And then we have the great moments. Another cool thing about the show is that there's patterns, right? Which I think, one end, you can see it as repetitive and boring or whatever, but I think on the other end, it's nice to see things come back around and to see through lines for even small stuff. So we have something like this that I noticed yesterday. Senpai asks her to teach him some more. It's a great moment, right? It's like awesome, right? He wants to learn more. He wants to be with her more, all that stuff, right? But you realize, they do this thing where, he's kind of stuttering through his words. He's kind of saying, he's asking his question only 2 or 3 words at a time, and he says the 2 or 3 words as a question, and then Nagatoro repeats the 2 or 3 words as sort of a question as well, and they kind of keep doing this back and forth. And you realize that every time Nagatoro does this, she knows what he's trying to ask her, and she loves it, right? Like she knows that he's trying to ask her to teach him some more. She knows it, right? She can clearly tell, and she's repeating it because she herself is kind of embarrassed, because she knows how much she wants him to wait. She knows how much she wants him to ask her this specific question, and so she herself is getting kind of flustered and like repeating what he says, of like trying to keep him on track, almost to be like, hey, keep asking me what you're gonna ask me, because I really want you to ask me this question. And it's not the first time she's done it, right? Like the other time that comes to mind is when she knew that he wanted to ask her to go to the zoo, and so that she was trying to guide him, and it got to the point where he started to really ask the question, and Nagatoro started to do the same thing. And so it's just nice when something like that comes back around, where it is like it is another character quirk, right? Like something that Nagatoro does. So that's cool. And then the very end, which is nice. The art club president got into art school, right? University, whatever. And Senpai wants to as well. And it's nice because, the art club president is like, wow, I never I've never gotten such a clear, positive answer from you before. Like this is growth, right? Um, and the big moment with this is that Senpai realizes that he doesn't know what Nagatoro wants from the future. Like he's kind of mulling it over in his head, and he realizes not only does he not know that, he doesn't really know anything about Nagatoro, like in terms of what's inside of her head. Like they don't, you know, they're starting to realize that they don't really know a lot about each other. They spend time with each other, they hang out, they have fun, whatever, but they don't really know anything about each other, like on the inside. And so I hope that that's foreshadow for next episode, because I'd really like to have like some serious conversations, because I feel like for the most part it's just kind of, again, like fun, wacky, whatever. But ever so often you do get the more serious stuff, and those are really nice as well. So yeah. Next we got Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, episode 6. I'm realizing some of these shows are back to back in a very coincidental way, where, like, I mentioned before, I always compare Angel Next Door to the Isekai show. Very similar. Just realized that Nagatoro and Kubo, very similar shows as well. Nagatoro is sort of aggressive, whereas Kubo is more like innocent and like coy about it. But they are two very similar shows. I think Kubo is also a little more obvious with her feelings, but at the base, very similar. So, what do we have? Oh yeah, so we see Shiraishi meet up with Akina again, which is Kubo's older sister. Just kind of bump into them, and also bump into her younger cousin, Saki. It's just crazy how much they look like each other. It's like, wow, Saki looks just like Kubo, and I love it, dude. Oh man, Akina. I've already mentioned this before about how much I love Akina, because she is the smuggest, one of the smuggest characters ever, and I love it. Because it's like, okay, so Saki looks a lot like Kubo, looks spitting image of how Kubo looked when she was in middle school, right? And Akina basically tries to trap Shiraishi multiple times, right? She's like, oh yeah, isn't she cute, right? Isn't Saki cute? And then Shiraishi starts to answer, just, Shiraishi's gonna give the normal answer when someone asks that about, like, just, just like a young kid, right? You're just like, oh yeah, you're, cute kid or whatever. Oh yeah, you're pretty or whatever, right? Like, kids want to hear that, right? Especially Saki, where she looks up to Kubo. One of the reasons is because Kubo is so pretty, and she's like, oh, I want to be like my older cousin Kubo or whatever, right? So, oh yeah, very cute or whatever, right? So a very like, I don't know, like, that is the answer that Shiraishi was supposed to give, right? Oh yeah, very super cute, whatever, right? Trying to make her feel good, right? She is, that's like, loves it, right? But then before you can get anything out, she's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, Saki's super cute, right? Isn't she Shiraishi? Just like Kubo. Oh, she looks just like Kubo, right? So she's super cute, just like Kubo is, right? And it traps Shiraishi, because now it's not just about Saki. If he says yes to Saki, he is indirectly saying that he thinks Kubo is cute. You look at Akina and her smug face, like she knows what she's asking, and it's incredible. And he's just like sweating buckets. He's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to answer this, because if I say no, I'm gonna hurt Saki's feelings. But if I say yes, then I'm gonna be saying that Kubo's cute, and then Akina's gonna go back, and what's gonna happen? And it's just so good. And then also, she also shows Shiraishi a picture of Kubo when she was in middle school, and then he obviously thinks that she looks cute in the picture, whatever. And then Aki just had this smug face of like, oh, she was so cute, right? Just such a beast, Like, she knows exactly what she's doing. And then they exchange line info, which is dangerous. Now Akina has Shiraishi's line information. I mean, one, it was great because, you know, she sent him the photo, right? It's like, oh, I'll reward you with this photo or whatever, you know. Um, very, very cute picture of Kubo. But then this just opens up the door for so many more shenanigans because it's like, what is now? Akina has his phone number. What is Akina gonna do? Where you know it's a setup for something. Akina is going to do something. But and then more with Akina afterwards. Akina does the thing where you act like you know that something happened, but you're just guessing, and you know that if the person that you're talking to reacts in a certain way, you confirmed it, right? It's like, oh, you know, you talk to a kid. It's like, oh, why'd you take the cookie from the cookie jar or whatever? And the kid lets it slip, and he gets super defensive. You know that, oh, it actually was you. You know, that was a terrible example. The whole point is to like entrap people, right? To like act like you know that something happened, and then them get all defensive, and then maybe even be like, how'd you know? How'd you know it was me? And they're like, haha, I didn't know it was you, but thank you for confessing. And so that's basically what what Akina does, where Akina's like, oh yeah, you should invite him over again. And Kubo's like, how'd you know that he was over here before? And Akina's like, haha, I didn't. I didn't know it, but now I do. And it's funny because you remember back to when it happened. This was back when Shiraishi couldn't get into his home, right? And it was raining, I think. And so Kubo let him over her place. Like, hey, take a shower. Here's some clothes for you, whatever. Because you're locked out of your place, and it's raining. You got to take a shower. You got to or take a bath or whatever. So that you don't get sick, right? So good stuff there. Such a beast, you know. And then we have the other great moment here. We have Kubo. Finding out Kubo's a great teacher, right? And it's great because Shiraishi thought that she that she was gonna tease him, right? To like tease him, be like, "Oh, you don't know this? You don't know the answer to this question?" But no, she has this great line where she's like, "I would never tease someone who's trying really hard to learn something new." It's like, oh, he's so pure, you know. But that's like such a good mentality to have because it's like, yeah. Why would you make fun of? I mean, even in this situation, like, why would anyone truly make fun of someone for not knowing how to do a certain, math problem, right? It's like they're trying, they're trying to learn it. They're trying, like, you're gonna make fun of them for not having the knowledge, like, instead of helping them out and giving them the knowledge. That's crazy, She's a great teacher. They're able to understand everything, so it's awesome, right? And they're like, oh man, we should study again tomorrow. Perfect. Then we have the end where Shiraishi stays home sick and they accidentally send each other stamp messages, right? So Shiraishi's was actually accidental, because we have the whole episode or that whole segment where Kubo is trying to figure out how to, what should she text him, right? Like, she doesn't want to sound too like forward. She doesn't want to sound like, like, oh, does this sound weird? Does it come off as like annoying or whatever? And so he finally messages her back, and his brother accidentally sends her a sticker, the like, I I I miss you sticker, right? And it's like, what does this mean? And she's about to text him back, but then he already has sent another text. Oh no, that wasn't me. That was my brother. He accidentally hit the thing, and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And then she sends him a sticker accidentally, and is like, oh no, that was my sister. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Kubo playing those games, man. You knew for a second it was about to get real dicey because she was about to react to the sticker as if he sent it, and it's like, ooh, what happens there? But then he backed off. So then she backed off and she played coy. It's like, ooh, we're getting somewhere, boys. Then we have the end where Shiraishi walks Kubo to the nurse's office. She's super sick, super dizzy, walks her over, and she's super grateful, all that stuff. So good stuff, right? Good stuff there. Yeah, great show, man. You know, it's another one of those shows where it's just like, I don't really know if it's leading to one of them confessing. I don't know. It could not. With a show like this, I don't really care. I mean, it'd be great, right? But I also think them just kind of messing with each other is fun too, you know? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Trigun Stampede, episode 7. Not a whole lot happened in this episode. I feel like it was more just like tailing off the whole Livio and Nico thing, and then a nice little cliffhanger at the end. Um, so basically, let's see. We have Vash stopping Nico from shooting Livio. That was a big moment because he's like, "Hey, no, like don't kill him. Like he might remember something. Like you might be able to bring the real him out and then save him. Like don't just kill him, you know." And he does. Livio remembers who he was and shoots himself, kills himself right in the head. That's tough. That is a tough situation, man. It's just, again, just furthering the whole Nico story. You know, I think really turning Nico onto Vash's side. And it's just like strong characters, I think. Where it's like, I don't know. I don't really know the trajectory of this show. But I think them constantly bringing up characters that are under Million's Knives, who Million's Knives are kind of effective negatively, and them dying or just, you know, hurting, and then being connected to Vash or being connected to Nico, you know, like who's connected to Vash, who again might turn over. You know, I think is very smart, and I think really builds up these characters a lot. Um, I mean, I would just like to see where it goes. I mean, again, we're only halfway through, right? We're just over halfway through, so there's still a ton left. Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much the whole episode. There's really the only couple things I really took of notes. I mean, the whole time, stuff is just kind of happening, right? Like they're rocketing towards the orphanage. They're trying to stop them. They're figuring it out, but the whole like confusion aspect to the episode is just kind of most of the episode. You know, just kind of like. So again, not really a whole lot to talk about. We do have the very end, which Vash comes out with like a weird pattern all over his body, like a weird glowing pattern. And I think there's a plant there. There's either a plant there, or he has some like weird plant energy or something. So yeah, cool cliffhanger. You know, I'm sure they'll pick right up where we left off next episode. So we'll see what's happening there. But yeah, good stuff. Again, not really too much to talk about. Not a bad episode by any means. Just like I just don't feel like there's a lot to talk about. Like it's cool they ended off that you know, that little storyline with Nico and Livio, very tragically. You know, but I think that really ekes into building up Nico's character more and seeing like what his motivations are going to be going forward. And then the cliffhanger of possibly a plant thing happening with Vash. Not really sure. So, yeah. Next we got Inspector Season 2, Episode 6. Yeah. New story here. Set up for a new story, which I think is really interesting. So we have the fish are cursed. They're like cursed fish. They're just dead fish showing up everywhere, apparently. And they think that Zenta had something to do with this after Tsubasa died. And they think that there was maybe some depression there or some whatever, some lingering feeling, some, you know, maybe some guilt, whatever it may be. You know, Zenta was involved in. Somehow Zenta is the one that's like cursing the beach, I guess. I don't really know how they put those two together, but sure, yeah, could be happening. We have a flashback to what they think is where all the connections were. So we have Tay found the doll that Zenta was carving for so long. Very weird, but that's what he was doing. He found the doll finished. I was like, oh great, oh man, the doll's finished, awesome. What are you gonna do now? Like what's, you know, this is awesome. Turns around, Zenta dead in the chair. Oof, that is tough. That is some tough. That's some tough juice to drink. You know, don't like that. So you know, some theories there, like what happened. What he, you know, him dying or whatever. Did he kill himself? Did the doll kill him or something? I don't know, right? Then when the police came, because, you know, someone is dead, you call the police, the doll was gone. The doll was just gone. And it's like, oof, that's that is some mystical, magical, some paranormal. I don't like that. Don't like that at all. What happened here? Um, and then in present time, Tay's cat spirit led her to the beach with the other spirits. Right? It's like, okay, cool. It's kind of where all the spirits hang out. Um, Again, connection to maybe the beach being haunted or cursed, whatever. This is cool. And then the doll comes. All the spirits are very scared of the doll. They don't like it. They try to get away from it. That's kind of why they go to the beach, to kind of get away from wherever the doll may be lingering. And they always are trying to constantly fight the doll and try to like take it out and be like, yeah, this doll is not good. It's bad juju, right? And so the doll though always wins and has survived for so long because it has like electricity powers. Has to do maybe like the rock in its arm. So it always just destroys whatever spirits try to fight it, and then it walks into the ocean on the floor of the ocean, and that's what's killing the fish. Is probably the electricity that it's just spurting off. It's just killing fish, right? Um, and then at the end we have Kotoko and Kuro who are here to help. So yeah, I mean, good stuff, a good setup. I'm interested to see what the doll's motivations are. Like if Zenta died and became the doll, like his spirit went into it, or if it was Tsubasa. What the motivations are of why it's fighting the spirits, why it's walking into the ocean, killing the fish. Again, like this episode, a very nice setup of like weird stuff, which is what Inspector is. It's always like weird, like mysteries. But it's a good one. It's interesting. This is one that I'm more interested in than the other ones, and I hope that. Again, like, I just really hope it's not another. Oh, Kotoko shows up and is like, "This is what happened. There you go," and walks off. Just like, no, like I want you to investigate. I want there to be something. Like even just more fighting. Like we saw more battles in the first season. We're already halfway through this season. We haven't really seen any. So, it's a good setup though. It's a good setup. I like it. So we'll see how it goes off. Yeah. The lightning doll, Static Shock over here. Yeah, and then we have Tokyo Revengers, Season 2, Episode 6. This is the battle. Not the full battle, but, some battling, some dueling is happening. So we have Chifuyu join Toman because he respects Baji, right? So a little bit of backstory there. Just more Chifuyu, it's good stuff. Then we have Chifuyu giving Baji's sash to Takemichi, so that's very symbolic. Kind of passing the torch down. He feels that Takemichi is worthy of owning the sash, and also he joined because of Baji. So now he's like, Baji's the only one that I really respected. So me giving you Baji's sash means that you are now the other one, the other person that I respect, right? Shows his loyalty, all that good stuff, right? However, Kisuke and the other guy, right? Kisuke's the one where it's like we never should have trusted him. And people are like, nah, man, we could trust Kisuke. Everything he's saying makes sense. And then Kisuke ties up Chifuyu. And the other guy, I don't remember the other guy's name, but Kisuke ties him up and it's just like, too weak, not gonna happen, blah, 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 right? It's like, right when we thought stuff was going well. Then we have Takemichi tell Sakai that Yuzuha would grieve if he committed murder, right? So that's his whole plan, right? Because his thing is he has to stop Hakai and he has to kill Taiju himself. So he tries to kind of guilt him a little bit and bring Yuzuha into it. Doesn't work though, because Taiju comes in and he immediately tries to kill him. Taiju stops him because he's way more powerful. And now he's beating up Takemichi. It's just bad stuff, man. Taiju's just better. He's stronger, like he's just better. However, Yuzuha comes out of nowhere and decides to stab Taiju right in the back. Right near the kidneys, And doesn't kill him. He like punches Yuzuha, falls, goes across the floor. Takemichi is kind of piecing everything together and realizes that in the original timeline, Yuzuha killed Taiju. It wasn't Hakai, it was Yuzuha. That means he hasn't stopped anything, because in his mind he was like, well, this isn't really going well, but I did stop Hakai from killing Taiju, But turns out Hakai wasn't the one who killed him, it was Yuzuha. So the timeline that he's trying to avoid is still active. Yuzuha might have killed him right there in the original timeline, so it might be shifting a little bit, but you have to now stop Yuzuha. You have to stop either of them from killing Taiju, you know, realistically. So that's kind of where it drops for now. I don't really know how Takemichi's going to stop them. I mean, it is like, I don't know how he's going to talk his way to this one. I feel like Takemichi, I mean, that's really how he survived up until this point, is just talking his way out of stuff and like setting up certain pieces to just avoid conflict or to instigate the necessary conflict. And so with this one, it's like, what do you say? You know, like, what do you, like, how? Like Hakai and Yuzuha, I don't know that they're powerful enough to take on. I don't know that all three of them can take on Taiju, honestly. I mean, maybe unless they have other Toman members, like, that are secretly gonna come and help them out. I don't really know how this is gonna end. You know, I mean, this is kind of like the Christmas showdown, isn't it? Like this is the thing. So we'll see. I mean, Yuzuha really blew her chance there. You know, I don't know why she went for the lower back. You know, I would have gone for like the upper back. You know, closer to a little more vital organs there, the lung, the heart. You know, the windpipe, something like that. You know what I mean? The lower back is a strange target. You know, I mean, it sucks, right? You don't want your kidneys or your intestines or even your spine, right? But even all of that, like, won't necessarily kill you. I mean, obviously not more than like the heart or a lung or something like that, you know. So, but yeah, man, I don't know how it's gonna end. I also don't know what's gonna go on further than this, because like this season is called the Christmas Showdown. So like it being Christmas, 6 episodes in, what's the rest of the season? Isn't this season 24 episodes? Like what else is this gonna be? You know? So we'll see. We'll see. You know, good stuff. Good cliffhanger to see how this ends. So I'm excited. And then that's it. Not another Isekai. This week is done. Yeah, man, you know, like I said, we are at least halfway, more cases than not, over halfway with all these shows. Not only closing up the new shows, but also closing up all the 2 core shows. Today we finished Eminence in Shadow, and we still have Blue Lock and My Hero to wrap up as well. And yeah, man, we're getting close. We're getting close to the end. A lot of these shows, again, a lot of them are more slice of lifey, so it's not really like, ooh, crazy plot points. But some of them are. You know, Trigun Stampede. How close are we getting to Millions Knives? You know. What else? Well, I guess a lot of these are really slice of lifey. But anyway, either way, good stuff. Loving it. And yeah. I'm also really excited for next season as well. You know, this is kind of, you know, once you get over halfway in the current season, that's where I kind of start to look at next season. Not trying to already push this current season aside, but you know, you start to get a little curious, right? Let me tell you, if you guys have not looked at what next season is bringing us, crazy stuff, man. We got like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, we got Dr. Stone, new Ranking the Kings, Konosuba spinoff, Oshinoko adaptation, the next Mercury Witch season, which we covered on here last season, so that's cool. So we got a lot of stuff. Please go check it out, and you know, let me know what next season stuff you're hyped for, because next season's gonna be a banger. It's gonna be wild. But yeah, that's it. That is it. Until next time, watch more anime.